This is the feedback for sketching activity in technical literacy, creating some basic shapes, square, circles, etc. I've created a scale across the top here just to give me some reference, and the first task that was asked for was 25mm square. So I've got 25mm there. We can see from there that if we draw a line like that, we've got a more or less 25mm right angle. From there, put a dot above the horizontal to the end and above, vertically above this end, and we can draw our square. So it's not quite square, but probably good enough. So the next thing is a 25 by 10 rectangle. So using that as a gauge, we come down approximately 10mm horizontally, 25mm. That would be sufficiently accurate enough. 25mm circle. So we've already got a 25mm square, so we'll put the 25mm circle in the square. So if we put a couple of diagonals in, it enables us to find the center. And if we sketch tangential to the top line and the side line, it's always the easiest one because your hand's inside the circle. This one here is not too bad either. I've got an HB pencil, I think, here. Yeah. Soft is good for sketching. A B might be even better. It's good enough to call a circle, and I quite like a centre line on a circle. Often the circle is going to be a hole or a round thing that we're going to dimension with a diameter, but at this stage that's all we're doing, so that's good enough. So we've got our 25mm circle. 30 by 20 ellipse, so this is going to be more or less the same. So if we draw ourselves a 30mm by 20mm square, or rectangle rather, it's not really a square if it's got different length sides. So find the center. So as you can see, this is pretty much repeating a very similar process. So all these constructions are sort of the same. So this time it's once again tangential to top and the sides. So we start off more or less parallel with the top line, and then come around until we're parallel with the side line. Using short lines to give you your initial line and then lining it in, a good technique. Okay, so there we have a sketched ellipse. Once again, I'm pretty keen on these centre lines. The top one's a wee bit wonky. Okay. So that's our 30 by 20 ellipse, 50 by 100 rectangle. So there's our 50 millimeters there. So that looks about right to me. And if we create a couple of squares that are based on a 50 mil grid, we'll have our rectangle. Then just line these in. Quite straight that line, but I might tidy that up a little bit. Okay, good enough. There's our 50 mil by 100 mil rectangle. So we want a 65 millimeter square to put our 65 millimeter diameter circle in. So we'll sketch a line down here. It's not really very straight. I'll cheat and use the edge of the paper. Okay, once again, same thing. You'll notice this is quite repetitious, but practice makes us better. Maybe not perfect, but better. And I'm not much of an artist. Some people would be able to draw these things by eye without doing any construction, but most of us need the construction lines, and the construction lines just give us something to follow. Yeah, particularly useful when we move on and we're drawing more complex shapes. If you create a square and then a cube and then draw within the cube, it gives you some gauge to follow so that you keep your proportion right. .65 millimeter circle or thereabouts. So we need our next one is a 25 mil radius circle. So that's a 50 mil diameter, and we've got a 50 millimeter rectangle here. So if we drew a little construction line down here, we would now have a square that we can draw our circle within. So now we have a more or less 50mm circle. I'd have to say that my construction lines are not particularly accurate here, and my centre is more like there, actually even lower down. Okay, so the next little task was a 65mm square, and we've already made that. So all we really need to do is line in the square around this circle, and we've done that one. And the last and most tricky thing, and I think that sketching becomes more difficult the larger the thing is, and often we'll sketch something to a size or a scale that suits either the paper we've got or um, just a handy size that will enable us to put the dimensions on that we need, whatever the thing happens to be. So drawing an ellipse this size is a bit challenging, but give it a go. So we need a rectangle that's 150mm by 50mm, so 50mm high. So once again, we can say that's our 50mm, so we can sketch a line that's at 50mm high. And then once again, if we make squares, be 100, 150 or thereabouts. I think that's more of a rectangle than my initial marks, so we'll stick with that. Once again, we need a center. There. It's not really falling in the middle of what I think we're about here, actually. So, yeah, that's more or less my center there. From here, we need to draw our curves in, and it becomes more difficult because of the size. So this is possibly going to be the most wonky one of all, but we'll work from here and and again, it's good to have your hand on the inside of the curve because it enables you to use your hand as a bit of a compass to curve around. It doesn't look too bad. Now I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to turn the paper upside down. It's not really cheating. There's nothing wrong with turning the paper upside down. So if we just enables me to keep my hand on the inside of the curve. Okay, we'll flip it around again. And we'll put the axes on it without some centre lines. Okay, and there we have it. A not very perfect circle and a square, small rectangle, large rectangle, etc. So hopefully that's useful, and this is the sort of standard that we're looking for from a sketching perspective for technical literacy. Good enough to dimension, would be meaningful if it was used as to describe a part, and the sketching will get a little bit more complex. But these are usually the kind of shapes that we need to be able to create.